Welcome to the Midweek Motivation Podcast, where we bring practical help for your faith and life. Here's today's episode. You guys, I'm so excited to be here with you. Just honored that you would spend time, Kevin and June Osbourne. So glad that you guys are part of our church community. And, we're in a series. We're talking about raising resilience on Sundays. And I was thinking a little bit about who exemplifies this idea of bounce back ability. And then on Sunday, we specifically talked about compassion. And I thought about you guys. You guys are funny. You are loyal. You are friends. You are big-hearted people. You serve like so faithfully, and you're totally weird. And I just love that about you both. And it's awesome to have you here. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for the kind words. Also,
I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Just so much respect for you guys. So I wanted to talk a little bit about resilience and compassion, because when I think about those things, I think of you guys. I think of people like you guys, and I've been like talking to our audience about we're influencing a generation of young people. Everybody is who has any influence at all, and in some ways we're cloning ourselves. And what I kind of hope for is that we could see a generation of kids grow up and be doing things like you guys are doing, be like you guys. I want to be like you when I grow up, I guess I'm trying to say.
You have a ways to go.
Oh yeah, I know. Got some work to do.
We've always encouraged, part of that is encouraging families and kids and young kids. And we've got some teenagers now that were here as little kids, and we've got kids starting school,
right?
And they were on backpacks, sleeping in the backs, and now they're serving and working, doing more and more each time and seeing. And I think June says it the best with that is they just see the service and the compassion and what it means for all these families that are there. And by osmosis, they're picking a lot of that up. So that part of it we really have dug into and trying to encourage people to bring their kids.
It's contagious, right?
Yeah.
And if you guys are listening along and you're like, okay, what are we talking about? We're talking about a ministry that's incredible. Your t-shirts say it all. We are Westside Food Brigade. First of all, introduce us to yourselves a little bit. How did you end up here in the Portland area?
Do you want to
Well,
with that story? 'Cause it started with you.
We lived in Arizona. We've known each other since we were 10 and lived across the street from each other. And we lived in Arizona for 40 years. And I always said I was a hostage. I didn't go there on my own free will. So I was looking for ways to get out. And when my kids got old enough, I discovered there was this place that the summers are probably 75, 85 degrees. And I just, and so for 5 years, I had dreamed of coming here.
Wow.
And then we reconnected and he worked in Portland. And so then one thing led to another. And, a year and a half after we got married, there was an opportunity for his job to move here. And we did.
Yeah.
That's killer.
Yeah.
The 70s and 80s aren't quite there anymore. It's gotten a little warmer.
Yeah, I know. What's the deal with that?
So
It was like
we're
hundreds
trying to
this
figure out the next place, but no.
the next cold place you can move.
Weather was a big part of it. Love the area. Love, we're big fans of Portland, downtown Portland, and things like that. That attracted us here. We spent our honeymoon here.
You did?
Yeah, and stayed at the Residence Inn at the waterfront. And
Perfect.
Just wandered
Yeah.
every day and did different things and
Ate voodoo donuts.
Yeah, and just discovered all kinds of places downtown.
Yeah.
And then we continued that. For about 2 years after we moved here, we kind of acted like tourists and we tried to do all those things because after a while it just becomes it's there. We'll do it eventually and then you stop. So, and that's kind of where we are. where we are
Need to
now.
get back out there and be tourists again.
Yeah.
Okay, so you showed up in the Portland area, and then somehow you got connected to Westside. How did that happen? The church I'm talking about, Westside.
Yes.
Yeah.
We were going to look at a house for rent on 198th, just down the street. And we had gone to another church that we were told about was like our church back in Arizona. And we went there 3 different times, 3 different Sundays, 3 different times. And every time we were ignored. And, you know, we had just moved here, and I wanted my people. And so I was really bummed about that. And we drove by here and we said, oh, there's a non-denominational church right here. So we moved in and we came here, and I think it was when you guys just came back from Africa.
Okay.
And then the next week it was at the high school. And so we've been here ever since.
You've been through Westside's changes and evolution as well. Well, just so you know, and I don't know if you know this about churches in the Portland area, but we actually paid that other church to ignore you so that you would come here. And so it was kind of orchestrated.
And you know what we got out of that was, if it was welcoming, we may have stayed there. We weren't meant to stay there.
Yeah.
We were meant
God
to be
was
here.
directing you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, okay, so let's fast forward, because you showed up at church, but that was short-lived, that you showed up and didn't do much, you know. So tell us how you got involved in leading this now massive nonprofit called Westside Food Brigade.
We're voluntold.
Yeah. First heard about it, we were in your Melissa's New to Westside growth group.
Okay.
And it was July timeframe and Independence from Hunger, and a sign-up sheet went around to say, go volunteer, sit at the table, help us raise funds for Food Brigade through this. So we did that. We went down there, and then we said, well, what's this Food Brigade thing? We should probably
We didn't even know what we were doing. Yeah. We didn't know what we were talking about.
Yeah. So I said, let's go check that out. And so a Saturday morning we showed up it was late 2012, and loved it. It was one of those things that clicked as we both went home and said, that was awesome. That's, we're coming back. And I don't know where it came from. Not something we were involved in a whole lot together in Phoenix. We went to a soup kitchen once and worked, but it just was, the people that were there and the work that was happening was just amazing. And it was 15 boxes of food being put together. And people
that was
waiting.
What was happening on Saturdays at that point in time?
Yeah, it was 15 to 20. If we had to make extra boxes up towards the end, it was a big day.
Wow.
And then they had the barbershop out in the part, the houses and stuff from the street, and freezers over there, and shipping food from leftovers from Aloha High School into clamshells and a few canned goods here and there. So it was
goodness,
humble.
how things.
Those beginnings were, but it was fun, and it was exciting, and was serving, and people that smiled when they came and got food was what brings us back.
Yeah.
I had never done anything like that before, and I still to this day get goosebumps when I think about when we got in the car and we were going to the farmer's market, because we still had time, and we were going down to the Beaverton farmer's market, and we got right out of the parking lot in front of the church. And I said, that was the coolest thing ever. And I said, I would wake up every single Saturday and go and do that. And we pretty much have.
And Thursdays and Fridays. And
And just by being there every week and being consistent and being, we had ideas and we did things. We were invited into the leadership team. And then just over time, things happen, people's seasons change for people, and they started dropping out one by one. And we were kind of left as the last couple standing. It was 4 couples that did a lot of the leading. And then we also came to the realization that leadership by committee isn't always the best in that situation. It takes
structure.
It takes a lot of people to do it, but it takes to build a process and build a structure. It takes a consistent leadership. And then to pass that down.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're listening or watching and you've got a dream, I think this is really important stuff to listen to, because, sometimes a dream starts out as like, oh, I'm going to go do this thing. And then you're like, wait, it's bigger than me. So there's other people needed. And that's where this comes in, is to go, oh, and if it's going to grow, you got to have some structure.
Yeah.
And that's important stuff. Okay, give us, in 30 seconds, what is it like now? on Saturdays.
Organized chaos. It's like the show.
Yeah.
And everybody comes together under the big top, and it just everybody has their jobs to do, and very little direction from us anymore, and just everybody knows their roles, and it's just magic.
It's amazing.
I know we're talking about running out of parking spaces on Sunday mornings and adding a service. Well, we're running out of parking spaces on Saturday morning to hold the people that show up right at 9:30. Everybody that's there gets a number and a food list, and then goes in random order. And they're willing to sit out there for 2 to 2.5 hours and waiting because they know what they're going to get. They know they're going to get.
Yeah, I mean, my wife and I, Melissa and I, delivered to 3 homes last weekend, and it's been a while since we've done that. And every time I get connected with what's going on, it's like the quality and the quantity of things that we are able to give away is bigger and better. And I mean, we were so proud to show up at the homes and be like, here's what here's your food. And the people were so grateful. It was one of those moments where just it meant so much to us to see the gratitude in their eyes. It was so powerful.
Yeah.
So that was cool. I mean, Saturdays are a machine here. And I keep saying Saturdays because that's when Food Brigade, the 100% volunteer-led big nonprofit ministry that has emerged here, gives away food to hundreds of families in the community every week, right?
Yeah.
Nuts.
250 to 300 families.
Yeah.
We've been averaging and helping any way we can. There's other pantries around that are in the area that are helping on different days, and we're collecting enough food that sometimes we share things. They share with us, we share with them. So the reach is even more than that.
Yeah.
It's just incredible to sit back and think about what happens every Saturday is amazing. And it's 40 or so volunteers each Saturday, not to mention the work we do on Thursdays and Fridays and picking up foods on the other days. But
yeah. And there's been so many, God has sprinkled so many blessings along the way, and challenges were there too. But I mean, the fact that, we used to dream of having a vehicle, that could be a part of this. And then you guys got involved, and people got involved, and grants got involved. And now there's this big refrigerated box truck and another box truck. And, it's neat to see the resourcing growing as as this thing develops. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about, one of the things I was wondering about was, at what point in your lives did you guys ever sense or grow? Did you have a moment of like this compassion impulse? I've been talking about this compassion impulse, where it's like, I want to help with that. I mean, was there ever anything, what formed that for you, either as a kid or growing into your faith, or how did you get into the place where you're like, let's do this thing?
I think my upbringing, my family roots, just an extended family, was to always think about and, helping people, helping neighbors, helping, being part of a community has always been important. Growing up in our neighborhood, June's mom still lives in the same house that was right across the street from where I grew up. But all of the kids in the neighborhood and all the adults got together because of Little League, because of basketball, school, things like that. So you built that sense of community, which we don't see as much anymore. You mentioned on Sunday, but drive in your garage, close the door, get out of your car. Some of it's for security and things you want to be careful with, but I think that's kind of where I come from. And I know June has a heart to help people. And
I was a struggling single mom a lot of the time when my kids were growing up. And if it wasn't for my community of church friends and growth groups, our neighborhood groups, then, they carried us through. And I remember what it felt like, and I can spot somebody when they come up and they're new, and you can see this look on their face that they don't want to be there. They're ashamed. They don't want to be in the place where they're asking for help, and they explain to me, I'm the one that's always giving help. I don't feel comfortable asking for help. And, I could spot those people, and, hey, you're one of our family now, and we're here to take care of you. And so many families have come to be volunteers of Food Brigade just because of that. They're made to feel like family.
Yeah.
And so then they get a different place in their life, and then they start volunteering, and then they bring their family comes, and it's just an amazing cycle.
That's pretty cool. So I'm fascinated with that. Like the thing that happens when someone, maybe they show up because they need some help, they get the help, and then they get somehow touched by this whole process to realize, whoa, now I'm a part of this thing. And then they start volunteering. I mean, do you have any insight into or stories about, what you see happening with the volunteers growing in their own compassion and their own desire to serve?
We talked a little bit about that yesterday as we were driving and then coming back today. But one of the things that struck me is that we've set up and designed this ministry as a service ministry. Mm-hmm. In a lot of the places that are food designed, it's people that are doing this because they need food, and it's a food-based, I'll do this because I need food.
Right.
We have said this is not why we're doing this. We do this to serve first. Mm-hmm. And it's community, it's serving the community. And we put our guests that come in first and serve them completely. And then our people that volunteer that still have a need can go. So and I think that really makes a difference in how people view it and how we view it. Is we're not here. You're not coming to us when you're volunteering with us. You're volunteering to get food, and we try to make that clear. Is there's no connection. Serving is first, getting is second. If you have a need, by all means, please be our guest and get what you need. But I think that's what has people in a different mindset at the end of the day is, well, I wasn't here just so I could get food. I was here to serve and to see and to mm-hmm. help all these people. And I think, from that perspective, that really makes a difference to people and what brings them back.
Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, so you guys have been involved in this for 10 plus years. It's gone from a very small start to a quite large reach at this point. And I'm just wondering, have there ever been any doubts or struggles along the way?
Oh, yes. Some days are hard.
Yeah.
Nobody gets paid at Food Brigade, and you put so much energy and so much of ourselves into it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like we just can't get ahead, and it grows weary and tiresome. And but then God shows up every week during the week, and there's just these things that it's like these little nuggets saying, keep coming, keep coming. And I'm going to feed you, that's God saying that feeding us in our spirits to keep going. So it all goes back to food.
We're in an area that's run by bureaucracy, and mm-hmm. there's USDA and government involved. So we have to be very careful about what we say and who we say it to and why. And we're looking for grant money. It's difficult to find. So every time we get turned down for something, that's a kick. But then there's always, it just seems like God has always been there right behind that to say, well, but here's something else. Got an email this morning from the Oregon Food Bank that we were declined for another grant.
Oh man.
But then right on the heels of that, Basic Foods had their little outlet store down the street. They closed that, and he called and said, we want to donate the food to you guys. We don't want to bring it back to the store and do all that. So we picked all that up over the last 2 days, and we had volunteers there today while we were at the beach.
We planned it like that.
They sorted all the food, put it away. Their accounting team came back and said the value of that food that they'd like a receipt, an in-kind donation receipt, was $21,000.
Oh my!
They gave us the whole store.
That little,
which probably beats the grant you would have got from the other.
It's going to do so much to provide food and so many different kinds of food, meats, frozen, just frozen protein. whether it's raw meat or chicken nuggets and French fries and things like that are great to eat, and then cereal and
jelly and Pop-Tarts and
so much stuff that we don't normally see, that if we want those things, we have to buy them.
Yeah.
And they just gave it to us.
What a blessing.
Out of the, we walked into the store on Farmington, and they had macaroni and cheese, Kraft mac and cheese, 50 cents a box, 2 shopping carts. So June first grabbed 4 boxes and said, I want these. And then she turned around and said, we should buy those for Food Brigade. I mean, it's 50 cents a box for that. It's almost $2 a box.
And the craft, that's a treat.
Yeah.
You know, people will buy, if you don't have the money.
I mean, my wife never lets me have that. So I get it.
It's a treat.
It is a
store
treat.
brand mac and cheese isn't as good. But so we turned around and then said, hey, can we buy it all for our food pantry? And it just happened to be the general manager of the store. And he said, sure. And then a week or so later, he said, I got something else for you. Maybe stop by here or, talk about it. And, it took us two different trips, or 3 trips, but $21,000 in food donations.
Gosh, that's amazing.
So we're thinking,
It's incredible.
all right, the Oregon Food Bank says no to this that we want to do, but God just keeps bringing other things and just lining people up and lining food up and lining blessings up that we just keep going.
So you guys mentioned the beach. I think one of the questions I always have when I think of somebody doing something big, because I experienced it myself, like this idea of like, well, where do you refill your tank? If you're gonna if you're going to be a resilient person who has character and confidence and then practices compassion, that's a recap of our series so far at Westside. But the idea is you're going to give. Well, how do you refill? And so talk to us a little bit about what are your guys' practices in this? Because you could get literally completely worn out doing this, right?
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah. Definitely.
We do.
We try to get away. We've purposely built the team so that we can. We don't always want to leave on a Saturday, but there's times where opportunities come up in vacation, or, we've done things with family. We've done things, this was just a Sunday afternoon to Tuesday getaway at the beach, and it rained most of the time. Mm-hmm. We have the door open, and we went and had a really nice dinner, and we relaxed. We met with some friends that we hadn't seen in a couple of years, and then that's that kind of getting away, relax, unwind, and recharge. Sunday morning obviously is a time that we don't want to miss a lot of, because that's that refilling too, is just to come and hear the message and hear the things that you're talking about, is the compassion and the resilience, and then kind of backfilling that to say, all right, make sure we're doing that, and doing it with our people, showing them how much that we appreciate them. The birthday thing is getting out of hand sometimes, but having a birthday card, having birthday cards is singing happy birthday to everybody who has a birthday.
Oh my.
And we have over 50 consistent volunteers. So that's a birthday a week.
Yeah.
And
just making sure that there's a card there and everybody signs it and saying, and then if you happen to miss it and they didn't announce it because they're not on Facebook, the emotions around that. But no, it's important, I think, to disconnect sometimes, and we've tried. We had an opportunity. We went to Hawaii last January. We got to go to Ireland last year, a different trip to Hawaii. So we do the big trips and get away and get family and kind of circle the wagons and that, and just have relaxing time. And I think that's very important. We tell everybody, you got to do what's best for you. If for some reason you don't feel like you can be here on a Saturday, you need rest, you don't need people, take that time. We don't want to burn people out, and we don't want to be burned out.
But I think there's such leadership wisdom for you guys to practice this idea of sustainable giving of yourselves, in a way that this is not a 1-year thing for you. It's obviously been a lot longer than that already. But I mean, I love the long-term thinking, the wisdom that you guys are approaching this with. And, I think it's why God has blessed this so much, is that you've really handled it so well, and you've built a team, and it's not just on your shoulders. And I think there's so much there for us all to learn about how we practice compassion, is that we got to do it smart. we got to do it. We got to do it smart. And I really love what you guys are doing.
I think, sorry.
The big thing, as I went to Mount Alma and finished my bachelor's degree there, and I had Pastor Ken as a mentor through that process, and his wisdom and his, sharing, limits and boundaries and time frames and putting that in the process was such a key to putting this together. And you talk about him a lot. He's an amazing man of wisdom.
Yeah.
And shared that with me and with us so that we've, never left that behind to say, you can't forget about us. You can't put so much into it that you just burn out.
Yeah.
Because then nobody gets helped.
Yeah, totally.
I think, for me too, just being able to ask somebody for help, rather than, oh, we'll just do it, you can see people light up when you tell them, hey, I think you would be good at this. And, and then they do it and then they figure out I am good at this. And it just elevates them to want to do more. And so asking people has been key for us, just not doing it all ourselves. You told us at one point early on that we have to have a cutoff time, like a hard cutoff time, because we would wait in the parking lot and we'd drive out really slow.
Yeah.
And if we see somebody coming, are they coming over to Food Brigade and we've just shut the doors and, and we learned that from you, and not everybody likes that, but if you're going to come back, then, this is the time frame I got to be there. And we had somebody last week and he said, well, I had to get my tires done. And I said, well, this is the time I have volunteers here, so, and we were done, and you gotta hold to that or else you do just get drained.
Yeah. Yeah. Now everybody knows I'm the real meanie. Yeah. Right.
And encourage them. You know what? The Oregon Food Bank has a food finder site. There's lots of other pantries that are open many other days. So it's not like we're just saying, sorry, you're going to starve.
Yeah.
But if you make an exception, then you have to make 1,000 exceptions.
It never ends. Yeah.
And so we've
again, I think
we have to maintain that.
That's there's the tough side, I guess, of love in that. There's the compassion. I mean, even you look at the ministry of Jesus, he puts so many limits on things. And we don't always see that side of it, but it's important to keep going. Okay. My real question for you guys in this whole thing was, did you know there's a computer company that stole your logo? That it's called, believe it or not, it's called Apple. And I don't know if you guys need to do something about that, but
we have a case pending.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But we're not allowed to talk about it right now.
All right. Anyways, but no, what are some of the hopes and dreams that you have for what's the future look like?
$2 million to build a building.
All right.
I've been the dreamer over the years, and we've talked over time about it. But space, we've run out of space. We've taken up space that could be used for other things. So we would love to be able to add space in the place of a building. We had plans drawn up with the big dream. Just here's everything we could possibly want in it, and here's what it would cost. And we're still hopeful for that. That would give us a space. We've got a couple of things that we'd like to do in the intermediate to, add refrigerated and freezer storage space. But we need space. And then we can organize better. We can have more varieties of foods. Instead of having a can of beans, we can have 3 different kinds of beans on the list and have the space to keep them separated. And I would love to go to an online ordering system where most of our guests would fill out their form online, and then we would fill the boxes, and then they just show up on Saturday and we check them in, collect their food, like going to Walmart after you do your online order, and get the cold, get the frozen, get the dry, load it in their car, and they're gone. And we
that'd be amazing.
That time that we could have shoppers. If we had more storage space, we wouldn't be confined to saying, all right, we have to wait till Friday afternoon at 5:00 to see what we have for Saturday morning. We can let some of those things and know that, all right, we're going to have all of that. So let's put those on the list and put those out there for offer.
That's a great idea.
God has a plan, and God has put that desire in our hearts. But he also, we talked about that. He's great at saying, here's what you're going to do. I'm just not going to tell you exactly when or how.
Yeah.
And I'll reveal that to you when it's time.
Yeah.
And we're continuing to go with that and know that we're blessed in what we do every week. So keep doing it. And, and the plan will come to fruition.
Well, and it's so funny because we're talking about compassion, which seems like such a simple topic. But then if you really start to unpack it, it's like if the Lord takes it someplace, it becomes a very, not complicated, but a very big thing. And he will lead you through all of those steps. And there's a lot of trust building in it. And there's a lot of people involved in it. But we're just so proud of you guys for allowing yourselves to be used by God like this. And think about the thousands of people whose lives have been touched because of it. I mean, I talked with a lady right after one of our services last Sunday, and she came up crying and said, "I'm really struggling." And we talked about what was the issue. And so I was able to ask this question, and what if your grocery bill went away? And she said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "You know about Food Brigade?" And she said, "I didn't know about it." So I was like, okay, this could help,
Yeah.
And that's just the example of like, if you hadn't have said yes to God's leading along the way in the little things, then that wouldn't be there. And so thank God that it is. Yeah. So proud of you guys.
Thank you.
Okay. How can people get in touch if they want to follow up, maybe write a $2 million check?
Yeah, info@westsidefoodbrigade.com is the email that'll come to us. Saturday mornings, we're there, 9:30, any Saturday morning, show up, we'll put you to work.
Yeah.
And there's a few other days and opportunities that we can talk about to help volunteer and do different things. But that's the easiest way. That info email it comes to the team, which is June and I, and then we get back and answer those pretty quick.
Great. Well, keep it up, guys. We're so proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Midweek Motivation. To make sure you don't miss any content in the future, please subscribe, share, and if you enjoyed this, give us a like, and consider popping by a Westside service some weekend. You can find out more at westsidecommunitychurch.com.